We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which the Women's College and the University of Queensland stand, the Turrbal and Yagara people. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening today. We recognise their deep connection to land, waters and culture and honour their continuing legacy of storytelling and knowledge sharing. Welcome to The Voice of Influence, a podcast brought to you by the Women's College within the University of Queensland. I'm your host and producer, Sarah Pearce. Our episodes aim to empower young women by addressing the unique challenges and opportunities of young adulthood. Tune in for insightful conversations with diverse guest speakers who offer advice and inspiring stories to help navigate young adulthood. In today's episode, we're diving into the often overwhelming world of finances during university and exploring how we can prepare ourselves mentally and practically for financial independence after college. From navigating budgets on student income to building long-term financial habits, this conversation is all about managing money. I'm joined by a very special duo today, Jo and Aimee, a mother and daughter team who bring both professional knowledge and lived experience to the table. Jo offers wisdom shaped by her career of years of financial decision-making, while Aimee brings the fresh perspective of navigating these challenges as a young professional and an ex-wazza today. Together, they'll share practical advice on making your money stretch further during university, setting realistic financial goals, and avoiding the common traps that can trip us up when transitioning into full-time work. We'll also go deeper into the emotional and societal side of money. Why do so many young women feel hesitant to talk about finances? How can we build the confidence to negotiate our pay and advocate for ourselves? And what does financial independence really mean beyond just having money in the bank? I will start this episode off with a disclaimer. The conversation you're about to hear with Jo and Aimee is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be financial advice and it doesn't take into account your individual circumstances. If you are looking for personal financial guidance, we encourage you to seek advice from qualified professionals. So with that, I welcome Jo and Aimee. How are you both doing today?
Really well, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I'm personally very excited for this episode because as a fully financial independent student, I fear I really need some advice in this episode because I'm a bit hopeless and still have so much to learn in the world of money and finance. So let's just jump straight in. What should students think about financially before leaving college?
My advice would be to, first of all, have a think about what are you doing for work and is your work situation changing with you leaving college? Are you starting to work full time? What's that going to look for you in terms of perhaps an increase in income? And really starting to have a think about budgeting for that. Also realising that you will be taking on expenses that you don't have at college.
Yes, I think that's one of the biggest things about college is how expensive most of the events are, and they're always popping up, and I think we always think we need to go to all of these events, but I think personally for me as a third year, I'm moving out next year and I'm going to start renting. I think we need to think about all these payments that we need to pay and things like Wi-Fi. Like I didn't even know you had to pay for Wi-Fi till like a couple of weeks ago. But just like, and my mum called me the other day and she's like, Sarah, you need to start saving for a bond. I was like, what's a bond? And then she was like, oh no, you need to sort this out before you start moving out.
And I think you've made a really valid point there, actually, because when you're at college, everything is all inclusive.
Yeah.
Essentially, aside from your social life.
Yeah, that's it. Because, yeah.
Once you move out, yes, you're going to have to be looking at bond, electricity.
Even little things
Wi-Fi.
like buying yourself a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had to pay for.
No, that's it. Because we have cleaners at college. I don't even see like the price for cleaning and the price for making your own food and electricity and stuff like that. And I know moving out of college, like uni's just to walk down, across the river. Like we got to think about transport and driving and all of those like hidden payments and stuff. I think, yeah, it's very good to take into account.
There's some really good budgeting tools available online too. What was the one that you were talking about, Aimee?
The Money Smart website. So it's a government website, so you can be comfortable that it's not sort of tailored towards any specific bank or something like that. So that's a really good start if you want to get an idea of, your budgeting and things like that.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. All right, thank you for that. I might jump into my second question then. If someone's never made a budget before, what's a simple way to start? I feel like you pretty much just gave this to us.
Already jumped right in. Yeah, so the Money Smart website is a great first start. But in order to put the information into that website, you do need to have a look at what are you spending and what are you earning. So the earning side of things is the easier or more simple side, because that's just whatever your employer pays you each month or each week. Whereas the spending side of things, I think I'd recommend to anyone, it can be a little bit scary, but print out your most recent month or 3 months worth of bank statements and go through line by line to see where you're really spending your money. That can be really eye-opening, and that will help you to budget for things, because in your mind you might think that you're only spending $50 a week on eating out with your friends, but when you review those bank statements, you may be surprised that it is a bit more than that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think with being in uni and being at college currently, we just sort of forget about all the things we buy money on. Sometimes it'll be like, because we get our food included at college, like it's actually pasta day at college today, and I know some of the girls aren't keen on pasta day, so they'll go and buy food. But it's like, you got to think you are actually paying for this meal that you're not eating at college. And I think, yeah, we need to take into account those sort of things, because I know me and all my friends, we are all in the same financial situation. Like, we're all scraping ends meet, we're all taking out loans. Like, can you shout me this? Rah, rah, rah. Thinking about when, like myself, starting to move out, I want to be more structured with how I spend my money and saving for things. Like, I've never been able to go on a trip overseas, but that's on me because I haven't been able to budget for that and save for that. I think thinking of things that you might want to spend money on in the future will actually make you spend better. Yeah, personally.
And definitely don't be scared. I actually think it's easier once you get your first full-time job. That, as Aimee said, you know how much you're getting paid, and then you just got to work out how to make that fixed number of money work for you.
Yeah.
And make those choices based on what your goals are, what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Whether it's saving up for a car, going overseas, starting to save a deposit for a house. It changes for everyone, but it is definitely easier, I think, once you're in full-time.
Yeah. Currently, I'm working 2 part-time jobs as like hospo work, and I'm currently looking for that part-time position to hopefully go into full-time in my professional career, hopefully. But yeah, very interesting. All right, and my next question is more directed at our students looking to get their first big girl job and maybe feeling a bit in the dark about what to expect when it comes to being offered a salary and superannuation and all the things that come along with signing a contract for a job. So I'll ask probably you, Aimee, how can young women feel more confident asking for fair pay or negotiating salaries?
I think the easiest way to feel more confident is to have the research to back up what you're asking for. So doing that industry research around the role that you're applying for and what the average salary for that role is. Having a look, some roles do advertise salaries, others don't. So just doing your best to do as much research as possible. Don't be afraid as well in an interview when they ask what your expected salary is to actually provide a range and then provide the justification behind that range. And you can always ask the question, is that aligned with what you're offering for this role?
Yeah.
And then let the employer provide some reasoning behind their offer. And I think it's not all about salary. You do have to think about, okay, where is the role based? Is it, for example, is it based in the city, which means that you can catch a train for 50 cents to get there?
Yeah.
Or is it based on the Gold Coast and you have to spend time sitting in traffic and fuel to get there? So,
yeah.
And other benefits as well. Some companies, it is rare, but some do pay additional super, especially government organisations, and some companies do have other benefits such as healthcare and things like that. So don't just focus on salary, think about the whole picture.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, especially as a young woman who's looking for that first big girl job. I think it can be very daunting for us to be in a room with all these professionals, like trying to negotiate like a fair pay and a fair wage. And I think a lot of us go into these interviews maybe not being super educated on what we should be paid.
Yeah.
And I think even... what would you say if maybe we are already in a position of being part-time or full-time for a company or a firm or whatever career it is, and wanting to negotiate a salary on top of that?
That's actually probably the perfect position to be in, because the company already knows you and they already know what work you're delivering. So as long as you have the evidence to back up why you're asking for more money, so that would be, you could frame it up as a business case around the things that you've delivered on and the value that you've brought to the company and why that should translate to an increase in your salary. So rather than framing it as, oh, I don't have enough money for rent, or I want to go to Europe next year, I need more money, it should be, I delivered on X project, which made the company X amount of dollars, or I was a key player in this project, and therefore I think that my salary needs to reflect that.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it's that a couple of people in your team have left and you've picked up those extra responsibilities and your position's changed a little bit.
Yeah. I love that response. I really needed to take that on board as well. And I might ask you, Jo, being on the other side of this, being someone who is an employer and has these interviews with people, what would you say to this question?
So before I answer that question, something I would like to say is that I really admire your generation for actually thinking about this and taking the initiative.
Yeah.
So when I was applying for my first job, the first job that I was offered, I was so grateful. I didn't even ask them what the salary was.
Yeah.
I was just grateful to have a position.
Yeah.
So I'm really pleased that that has changed.
Yeah.
From an employer's perspective, certainly what we want to see is, aside from all the intangible things about how you interact with others, how enthusiastic you are, all of those soft people things, in terms of considering salary, it really is about justifying what you do to earn that salary.
Yeah.
Because there's limited resources. So it's just not an open tap to pay people whatever they want. So there certainly has to be justification there around why we should pay you a particular salary.
Yeah, giving examples of why.
Correct, yeah. What Aimee was saying, what you would bring to the role.
Yeah.
Or if you've already been in a part-time position with that company, talking about those projects or whatever work you've done,
that's
benefited the company.
Yeah.
But certainly, if you're coming into a company fresh, doing that research around what you should expect to be paid is really important.
No.
That way, if you come into the interview and you've got all of those other qualities that we're looking for, we'll probably be happy to pay you at the top end of that range.
That's it.
To attract someone of your calibre.
Yeah. No, I love that answer. I currently actually have a friend who has received her first full-time job, but she is in her last semester of study. I know she went to that employer and was like, look, I'm living at college, I have to pay for things and I can't do full-time work. And they actually came back to her, they were like, we will give you casual rates, like you can work a couple days a week, and then once you finish your degree, we will put you on full-time and then we can negotiate your salary after that position. And I think I had to really talk her up to try and contact this company and tell them that you can't do what they're offering you now, but if you offer them something else, if they really want you, they'll take it. And she did that and she got the results she wanted. So I think just even communicating with your employer about what you want expected and what they expect of you, I think
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And
very
I think
important.
that's really good advice that you supported her to ask those questions and to put forward her side of she was looking for. We do it all the time for when we're employing people. It would be very rare for an employee not to negotiate their salary.
Yeah.
It would be very rare for an employee not to say, I can start in a month, but then I've got a month of holidays already booked in.
Yeah, right.
So if they're the right person, you just work around those.
That's it.
Because the culture of your firm is worth paying a little bit more money to get right.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
I just wanted to add that the salaries that you start on in the company is not the salary that you have to have forever. So perhaps the salary does come in a little bit lower than what you are really hoping for, but have a think about, is it worth accepting that role, getting in, getting started, really showing them what you're worth, and then in a year's time at your performance review, then you'll be able to make the request for an increase in salary, and you'll have a year's worth of evidence to back that up as well.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because I know in my degree it's very competitive right now, especially with grads. It's very like you need experience to get a job, and we need internships while we study before we get a job. And I think a lot of my friends that I have at uni, we're starting to look at our big girl jobs after uni, and I think knowing that I can start somewhere, maybe not on the salary I want, but build up
a bank of credibility with your employer, and that gives you a really good basis then to start talking about those increases in salary.
Yeah, and don't wait until your performance review to start thinking about why you're worth that increase in salary. Throughout the year, keep a little notebook or on your computer or even a folder in your inbox of different things that you've delivered on, and that way you've got all of that ready to go.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that. That was really good. I think this also follows into my next question, which is, what does a healthy balance look like between saving for long-term goals and living in the moment as a student?
Oh, and I think that is different for everyone.
Yeah.
So it really does depend on what your goals are, both short-term and long-term, because you might have some short-term goals of potentially going away for a weekend or longer overseas trip, as I say, saving up for a deposit, lots of different things. And you can always allocate your savings pool to those different goals and those different buckets as well.
Yeah, it is a really tricky question. I think you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once.
Yeah.
So if you do have that goal for, let's say, a big trip at the end of the year, perhaps it does mean saying no to a couple of the other events and being okay with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good advice. I know being in my third year in college, all of us have this mindset that we have to go to everything. It's our last one. But I think remembering that we all have to pay rent next year, all of us, and we all have to pay for all these things in the back of our minds really does mean that we need to pick and choose.
Yeah, and I'll be unpopular for saying this, but I'll say it anyway. I think, is there a dress that you could borrow from someone if you're spending money on getting your nails done for the event? Or if you want to save money in one area, it means that you can spend more in another area.
No, I completely agree. I don't think I've had a haircut in like 2 years. I think we all band together and all us girls to cut our hair in each other's room. Does it look good? Probably not. But, just like cutting in some ways to experience others. And I think it's important to remember, at least I'm 21 years old now, that it doesn't all need to be about saving money we don't need to not go to anything. I think this is the time to socialise with our friends, but also focus on uni. And if you deserve that $8 coffee on a Sunday, get it for yourself. Like, I think remembering that we don't have to be too frugal at this age, and no one's got like 20 grand savings in their bank account. I know I definitely don't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you're right, this is the best time of your life.
Yeah.
So you don't need to ruin it by not having resources and things you want to do.
No, that's exactly right.
So again, it's just about that balance.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Just finding out what works for you.
Thinking about cheaper ways to still do what you want to do. You know, when I was an associate at college, one of the things that a lot of the girls did, which I'm sure is still pretty popular, is going on walks to catch up. So it means that you're getting your exercise in, so you're saving on, you know, a gym membership, but also you're able to catch up rather than spending, you know, $30 at a cafe to do that.
No, that's exactly right. I think we've all come up with very creative ways of how to save our money. All the girls are good at something, like someone will do eyebrows. We've got 250 girls at college, so that's 250 outfits to borrow off people. Communal wardrobe. I don't know what I'm going to do without it next year. Oh, goodness. But yes, I think we've learnt to save money in a lot of ways. The really popular way to save money now is renting ball dresses. So there's all these hire sites and you can rent these $200 dresses, $400 dresses for under $100 just for the weekend. And I think, yeah, there's definitely ways to do uni and go to all these things that we want to go to, but also not completely be in debt.
And when you do move out with your friends after college, it's a great opportunity that you can start inviting people to your place. They can invite you over to their place.
Yeah. Often
a bit cheaper than anything going out, but at least now you've got you will have the opportunity to do that.
No, that's exactly right. Well, I might get into my final question. If a student is feeling completely lost about money, what's one thing they can do today to get started?
But if you needed to start thinking about money, it's having that really good understanding of how much you earn in terms of those earnings, what superannuation is being paid on your behalf, because that is part of your future saving, understanding what tax is being taken out, understanding what HECS repayments will be coming out of your salary. So what is the net amount that you've got left to be able to divide up between all the expenses, the good stuff, savings, those sorts of things. And then when you start to think about savings, it's maybe looking at one of the smart money budget.
Yeah.
Just because there can be expenses that you don't even think about. And I think you touched on that earlier, Sarah. But when you see it all in a list, you suddenly go, oh, yes, there's that and that and that.
Yeah.
And so those essentials that you absolutely have to pay for, what's left?
What's left?
What's left? And how are you going to use that money?
Yeah.
And it is hard sometimes. What you think is essential, someone else may not think it is essential. But clearly the things like your health care, your rent, your electricity, your cost of getting to and from work, uniforms, just clothes for work, they can cost. So there are essentials that you can't do without.
Yeah.
And then it's just working out what are you going to do with that leftover.
Yeah.
And I think once you've done all of that and you've done up your budget, have a think about saving for an emergency fund first and figuring out, okay, if I were to have an unexpected expense, how much money would I need to be able to cover that? Getting that in your bank first, whether it's $500, $1,000, whatever it is for you and your circumstances. And that will depend on if you're renting or if you're moving back home with family or what your situation is. But once you've got that, then you can start saving for other things.
Yeah. No, I love both those answers. As someone who needs this advice personally, yes, I really think this is something I need to think about before I move out and pay rent and all those things.
And another great website it's just paycalculator.com.au. And the reason why that's great is if you are mathematically challenged like I am.
I can attest to that.
There were many nights spent crying at the kitchen table over maths in primary school that Mum can remember. But
yes,
that's a great website because you can type in your salary or what you think your salary might be. Then there's different boxes that you can check, which is if it includes super, doesn't include super, if you have a HECS debt or don't have a HECS debt. And then it will actually tell you how much you're going to get in your bank account.
Yeah.
And that's something that I do every time I've moved to a new job and I've been thinking about what salary I'm going to ask for. Is I've used that to actually see how much is that in my account, because I don't know about anyone else, but calculating the tax rates on
I
salaries
wouldn't begin to know where to go with that.
Yeah, and that's a good way as well that you can compare salaries, because it may sound like a huge difference on an annual amount,
Yeah.
but on a weekly amount, how much difference is that between those two salaries?
Yeah. Yes, that's very interesting. I had no idea about that. I might circle back and ask you a bit more about when starting to look at salaries at a job. This is just off the top of my head, but I wondered if you had any red flags to watch out for when you get a job offer, whether it's casual employment or full-time employment. Like, what things should we look for that might bite us?
Yeah, it's a great question. You need to make sure that before you accept the role that you've got that contract in front of you, and that you've had the time to read through that. And if you're confused about anything in that contract, if you ask a trusted friend or family member to help you read through that, things to look out for is making sure there's a reference to the superannuation that you're going to be paid. That's a legal requirement for them to pay that to you. And the super rate has been changing, so I won't quote what it is.
12%.
12%, all right.
I think I should know this. So it's gone up a little bit over the past couple of years. So making sure they will be paying super to you. And also just looking out for, are there any red flags in that contract around hours of work and what's expected of you?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. This is such good advice. Yeah.
And talking about superannuation, a firm might offer you either a salary plus super, or they might offer you a package, in which case your package could be fixed. So base salary plus super up to a certain level or a certain amount. But then if the superannuation guarantee rate increases, your actual base salary might drop down a little bit to keep the total within your package. So you just need to make sure that you're clear about what they're offering you.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It actually happened to one of my friends where they called her up with this amazing offer, and they made it sound like she was going to be receiving this incredible salary. And then when they sent through the offer via email, she realised it actually included the bonus, which wasn't a guaranteed bonus. And it also included super as well. So her actual base salary was a lot lower than what she thought it was going to be. So if they say total remuneration package or TRP, that means it can include other things like super. And depending on the company, they may be including the value of health insurance or a potential bonus in there as well.
Wow, that's very interesting. I did not know about these things.
Don't be enticed by big bonuses, especially if they're not a guaranteed bonus, because if they're based on company performance or any other factors other than, just you being at work
control,
then you're leaving some of your salary up to chance. So a bonus should be exactly as it is, just a bonus. If you get one, fantastic. If you don't, no worries. You just need to be comfortable with the actual base salary.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting. I did not know about all these hidden things in salaries. As someone going into my career, hopefully next year, this is very good to take on board.
And that's why it's great that you've got such a strong network of women around your college, that you've got people that you can reach out to, ask those questions,
that's
get the guidance that you need.
Yeah, I think the big network that we have at Women's, I think it's very helpful that we always have someone to reach out to. I know my last guest, Phoebe Lingard, actually reached out to Susan about a possible job before, and just having those networks and having the women's connection. I've had friends who've gotten internships because their boss has been at Women's and they know the Women's girls are who they are and they know that they're good people. So I think this network that we have here is very good for career connections and all that sort of thing. And I think, personally at college, because I've paid my whole college for the past 3 years, and it's been very tough as a student who also doesn't receive any government aid or anything. Women's has a very good network of philanthropy and giving back. I've received a scholarship or a bursary in all my years, whether I've been academic or whether it's just been because I was financially disadvantaged. I think Women's knows that if they give back to their students in the future, they will give back to them. And I think having that community in college and as a uni student really sets us up for leaving uni and starting our careers and starting our financial life, really. But yeah.
You're dead right. That community is so important.
Yeah.
It really is. Here I am at 55 still coming back to college. So
that's it.
It's wonderful.
Yes. If I could do a million years at college, I would, but this is my last one. Awesome. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our questions. But this is the part where I invite my guests to share a little bit of a laugh, a lesson, and lasting advice about anything that you have encountered from your own uni days till now.
So I was in college for 3 years.
Yeah.
Then moved out into a house on Sir Fred Chanel Drive.
Yeah.
With too many people. So we crammed a lot of this in to keep the rent down. And my mum and dad had bought a car that I was allowed to use in my last year of uni when I moved out. But then when I started work after my uni degrees, I didn't have a car. Yeah. And I had to get to Nunda, and the trains and buses weren't very convenient. So I went straight into debt. Yeah. The personal loan. Yeah. So that wasn't really a good thing to do, but it was a necessity for me. Yeah. So I did make that my first priority, was to get that car loan paid off as quickly as I could. Yeah.
How was your experience with that? Did you find that put you back for your future, or do you think that you needed to do that to get where you are now?
Yeah, I think I definitely did it out of necessity. Yeah. I probably, in hindsight, I probably could have chosen a cheaper, bombier car and not had quite as big a loan because it did take me a while to pay that off, and personal loans are usually at a higher interest rate than a mortgage. Yeah. So in that way, that wasn't a good financial decision to make. But certainly it was something that I learned a lot about. Yeah. I was working at one of the major banks at that time, so finance was just something and money was something that we were talking about all the time. So I learned a lot there as well. And I think just as you're working in your career and you go through all these personal experiences, you have children, you save up to go overseas, it just all, you build up this bank.
You start to understand,
But that was definitely my first foray into being in debt.
Yes.
So for me, being financially independent is incredibly important. Yeah. So it means that you get the opportunity, you get to make your own choices, and you do have choices if you're financially independent. So it is definitely something that, while it might seem hard and might seem like something that you don't really need to focus on now, it is important and it should be prioritised. Yeah. And I know Aimee had some really interesting advice from one of her school teachers.
Yes, in high school, one of the teachers told us, I went to an all-girls high school, that a man is not a financial plan. And that really stuck with me because, yes, you could marry someone rich, but what you could do is instead focus on yourself and the money that you're making and what you're doing with your money so that you don't have to rely on another person for that.
No, I love that.
And then if you do end up with someone rich that you marry, it's just a bonus.
Just a bonus. Exactly. I think that's so important, especially from my perspective. I didn't come from a super wealthy family. I come from a small town. I moved up here to the big smoke and I've paid my way through it. And I think knowing that I can support myself on $500 a week is just so important. And I think especially coming from someone who has paid their way through university, it is so much more special when we can do fun things like go to that ball that you wanted to do or go on that overseas trip. I think knowing that you are financially secure is one of the most freeing things that you can be as a young woman. And I think, a lot of Well, I know that this is like very further down the track, but I know one of the leading causes of divorce is financial abuse. And I think having money in the bank is important for every woman. And I think, we don't need men for money.
Just be in control of your own destiny and look after yourself and make sure you can do and have what you need and want.
Yeah, I think I was sitting with my mum when I was home just a couple of weeks ago, and she was getting a facial, and she was like, "Says this is like $300." I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait till I can afford to do all this stuff." And I think knowing that in the future we can spend money as we want, but also having security in ourselves in case anything happens and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think the majority of people come from a really similar background, not necessarily the small country town side of it, but which I did.
Yeah.
But not the majority of people don't have rich parents.
Yeah.
So they might have comfortable parents.
Yeah.
But not necessarily rich parents. And if we can have the skills that we need to make our own lives comfortable and secure and pass those skills on to our children, our friends, it will make the future a lot better.
I'm just thinking about something funny that happened, which is when you start a new job, you'll know before you start if it's weekly, fortnightly or monthly pay, but you won't know which day is payday.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is just keep quiet and wait for one of your co-workers to mention, I can't wait for payday tomorrow or whatever day it is. Don't do what I did, which was ask on your first day, what day is payday? Because then everyone will think that you're broke, and whether you are or you aren't, you probably don't want your co-workers to know that. So
no,
keep quiet and just wait for someone else to bring it up, or send a quiet email to the payroll people.
Yes.
Or come and work for a company like mine that lets you know what the payroll cycle is and what's the first payday that they will they can expect after they start.
No, that is
which
good.
I think is the gold standard really for employers that unfortunately not everyone's doing.
And I think that's just because you know that all of your staff have got different circumstances. Some are young, some are more mature, some are renting, some are homeowners.
Yeah.
Some are single parents. So we can't live without money.
That's it.
So knowing when your money's coming in and how much is coming in is essential.
And another random bit of travel advice. Financial advice is if you can't afford travel insurance, you can't afford to travel.
Yeah.
So don't pop yourself on a plane. You've probably all heard this from your parents, to a country overseas without that travel insurance, because unless you have a great emergency fund where you can bail yourself out, especially some countries, it can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars just to get a script for, let's say, antibiotics for an ear infection.
Yeah.
So get that travel insurance.
No, I think because I'm actually anaphylactic to peanuts randomly, but my doctor told me if you ever go to a foreign country, you need travel insurance or you need to bring your own EpiPen, because in Australia, those are like $70. Like they're a bit less than that now, but they're so cheap. And then in some of these foreign countries, they're like hundreds and hundreds, they could be thousands of dollars. And he was like, if you ever travel overseas, which hopefully one day I'm itching to go overseas, you're going to need that, which is just so interesting. Yeah.
And the time that you don't get travel insurance is the time that you'll need it.
You'll need it. Yeah.
It's just to get it.
Yes. Well, I actually didn't even know travel insurance existed till now, so I'm going to need that.
Well, you've got something to look forward to. Travel insurance, health insurance, home insurance,
car insurance. Yes, I know car insurance, but I'm still on health insurance, thank God. Probably until my first shot.
Yeah. Stay on your parents' health insurance until the last minute and get your wisdom teeth out on your parents' health insurance.
Yes.
Do whatever you need to do.
And for any parents listening to this, get your kids off your private health as soon as you can.
That's it. No, very smart advice. All right. Well, that's probably where we will end our chat today with Jo and Aimee. And I'm so thankful for you guys for sharing not just your knowledge, but really practical advice for students. From making your money stretch further at uni to setting realistic goals to remembering it's okay not to have it all figured out right now. Thank you so much for all your useful takeaways. What I loved most about this was the reminder that financial independence isn't about being perfect, it's about building confidence with the small steps, whether using a simple budget or backing yourself when it comes to pay and future opportunities. So for all our students listening and feeling a bit unsure about money, hopefully Jo and Aimee's words gave you both some reassurance and a few starting points you can put into action. Thank you again, Jo and Aimee, for joining me today and sharing such an honest and empowering conversation.